Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's pretty amazing how so many people are willing to invest in things that have no value into helping them to become their best self. They just look like that their best self, but they haven't given themselves an opportunity to become their best self because you can't be your best self by yourself.
Build $1 million legacy with purpose.
Hello, purposeful people out there in our community today. I am Dr. Marnita on fire, owner of P3 Purposepreneur. We are doing conversations around build $1 million legacy with purpose. And I am excited, too excited to have our guest on today, who is a purposeful woman. And her name is Dr. Arlanda Stevens. And let me tell you a little about this woman. She is a health and wellness coach who specializes in personal growth and skill development. She works with 40 plus women who are 40 plus, although after doing my research, I know that she has worked with women of all different types of ages and girls too. But specifically lately, she has decided to focus her attention on 40 plus women and helping them embrace change, navigate life transitions, and also tap into their potential. She likes to call herself the midlife midwife. Y'all, she's helping women birth some things in when they go beyond 40. I am so honored to have her on our show today, Building $1 million Legacies with Purpose. And I want to introduce you to her, Dr. Stevens. How are you doing today?
Hello, hello, hello. I'm doing well. So glad to be here with you, Dr. Marnita, and
I
talking about a subject that lights me up.
I know it lights you up, girl. If y'all go to her website, drarlandastevens.com, she's talking about the Midlife Renaissance Collective. She's talking about the midlife Renaissance woman, which means there is a renewing and a revival of something once you pass 40. Y'all not done. Y'all not done. So, Dr. Stevens, can you tell us, because purpose is all about the intention and the reason for creating a thing. And as I've done my research on you, you are hyper focused on women and what they have to tap into that they may not even realize that they have. So what was the thing that made you say to yourself, there is something there that I need to help these women with? What was it for you?
So for me, it was born out of my personal experience, and I've shared this story on different platforms. But in 2019, I divorced after being married for 27 years, and raising three children. So initially, we separated. It was year 25 and 2017, and then 2 years, going through the process. And when I initially became separated, um, I was like, "Oh my God, like, what do I do?" And although it was something that I didn't like catch me off guard, right? So I knew things, were not headed in the right direction, but yet and still, most of my adult life, I was a wife and I was a mother. And so my kids were gone, they were all in college, so I was an empty nest, didn't have a husband, and I was like, "Oh my God, like what do I do next?" Because I found that in talking to other women, particularly prior to 40 and depending on how early or late you start having children, well into your early 50s, your identity is caught up in your family or your spouse. And when those things change, then you have to kind of shift, and it forces you to kind of rediscover who you are and what your purpose. And you're not just, so and so's mom, so and so's wife. And although I had my own thing, I was doing my own thing, but so much of my life was wrapped up in my family. And so and then I start going through my process of healing and just going through, just being self-reflective. And I recall how unwell I was. And I don't know if unwell is the word, but it's the word I made up that worked for me.
What's the word?
And
What's that?
Unwell,
Unwell.
unwell.
Okay, okay.
I was unwell and I was functioning. I was going to work every day. If you looked at me, you wouldn't have known anything. But as I started thinking about some of the decisions I was making as pertains to taking care of my body, my self care, my weight, stuff I was eating, how I was spending my money, my spiritual life, so all those things are like, I need to do something. And so I went to therapy, also had several good coaches, life coaches. And as I just going through, I was like, I know I'm not the only one. And when I start talking to women over 40, I could be 10, 15 minutes into the conversation and understand that, yeah, there's some things here we need to talk about. I also want to focus on midlife women is because all of these changes kind of converge in midlife, right? Over 40, you have health changes. I know for me, the first thing is I had to get some readers, right? So if you want me to read it, I need readers. But then that's when you start getting mammograms and so all these things from a health perspective start, not to mention menopause. And if you've gone through menopause, it's more than just hot flashes, right? There's brain fog, there's a lot that goes into that. So you have health changes. Then you have relationship changes, whether you are divorcing or separating or remarrying in midlife, right? Because a lot of that is going on into a second or even a third marriage. And not just changes in romantic relationships with your families, with your friends, the girlfriend that you had that you've been best friends with since second grade no longer is your friend. You hardly connect anymore. And there's a grief associated with that, right? But so changes in relationships. And then, of course, there's empty nest, where, like I said, you have spent 18, 20 years of your life pouring into these children. Now they're gone. And having to deal with that. And had a lady on the panel and at the conference who was a very involved parent like myself. I say a VIP, right? And her children were gone and they're doing well. And that's what you want your children to do. But it's still like, okay, now what do I do? Like, I don't have to go to a basketball game on a Friday night or a football game. You're like, what do I do now? And then you have caring for aging parents. A lot of us are in that stage. They call us the sandwich generation, where we're raising kids and caring for aging parents. And depending on your level of caregiving, that can be a lot. I recently lost my mother in July. She passed after suffering with dementia and Alzheimer's for 13 years. So you have all these things kind of converging in midlife. Then you also have career changes. So you're either thinking about retiring, just retired, forced to leave for one reason or another. And all these things kind of converge in midlife and in and of themselves can really take you out, right? And so what I want to encourage women to say, this does not have to be the end. It doesn't have to be a woe is me and, I don't know what to do now, but think of this time as a renewal, as a renaissance to rediscover your purpose on what you were put on this earth to do and be. And it is more than just being somebody's employee, somebody's mother, somebody's um, spouse, and all of that. And so that is how Midlife Renaissance Collective was born. I just want us to rethink about that, live our best life because, you get 50, 60, the reality is there's more time behind us than there is in front of us, right? And we need to enjoy these days. And what I say, live your best blessed life and experience greater in your later. Greater love, greater joy, greater peace, greater whatever it is you're looking for.
So I heard you mentioned in navigating those life transitions that you just took us through, identity is important. I don't think many women realize, or let me just say people, I know we're talking about women, but identity is so important and you have to be intentional to have the ability to evaluate your identity so you can elevate into your identity. So once we go through those life transitions, which you so eloquently share with us, when does one, or how have you been able to share a framework or a blueprint for one to actually begin to tap into their identity? Because without identity, you can't grow into who you are. You can't develop those skill sets that you talk about as one move into their midlife renaissance experience. And so how does one begin to tap into their authentic, because I know you mentioned authentic in your narrative. How does one do that? Because there's many women out there who want to know, Dr. Stevens.
Yeah. So I use what is called the RAVE framework, and it's one that worked for me, and I have used it with some of my clients. And RAVE stands for reflect, aware, vision, and execute. And so you have to sit down and get some quiet time and just reflect on where you are and really be honest, be radically honest with how you're feeling and where you are. Most of us stay so busy, we don't even know if we're coming or going. We don't know what we feel, right? Because we're just going through the motions. Like our life is on autopilot. We get up, we do this, we go to work, And so you have to take that time to reflect and say, is what I'm doing working for me? Right? Um, is the space where I'm living, does it create um, positivity for me? Are the people in my life, right, the people that I want for where I want to go? So it's really just kind of reflecting and doing, becoming self aware. And then once you reflect, then the next one is moving to A, and that's awareness. So aware that these things are going on and being aware that this isn't serving me. And then you move into the vision. And this is where a piece that is very important. I was just did a vision board activity with a group of women, midlife women, and for me, vision boarding is more than just cutting out things out of a magazine and slapping them on a piece of paper. But you got to think about, what is the vision you have for your life? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to become? What is it that you want? What does your soul yearn for? Right? And I'm not just talking about houses and cars and purses, right? But what does your soul long for? What is the vision for your life? And then once you have a vision, then you have the power to create it. And that's where the E is, the execute and excel. Because we have the power to create the life we want. Does it take work? Yes, it does, right? Hard work is hard work, but we have the power to create it. You don't like where you're living? Move, find a new space. If you can't afford to buy a new home or move into a different place, redecorate, but you have the power to create a space that works for you. And that's in all areas, right? So that is kind of the basic framework, but a lot of it just starts with reflection and understanding where you are and making a conscious choice and being intentional about recreating or creating something different.
I'm glad that you mentioned vision, because it's more than, when you say have vision, I think that it's more than just having a vision statement.
Hmm.
Because often you can write a vision statement, but that's not it. I think having a vision that is created in imagination, so it provides you something that you can really walk into it, where it's clear, concise, and compelling, to get you up every morning and say, this is where I'm going.
Hmm.
And I don't think we get enough of people who model that to us. And I know, like, I read a lot. And often they're talking about vision statements. But I think what's more important, more salient is having a vision image, because everything is created in imagery, like first, before you can see it in the outer world. And so that becomes a part of how we begin to become the person, right? Identity, who can live into that vision. So I think it's very interesting that you brought up in your rave concept, in your rave framework, creating a vision, and to do that in a way that it is clear, concise, and it compels you to move into that, to that of what you see in your imagination. Do you work with many women? Because oftentimes we lose the ability to imagine what's possible for our potential, which leads to our purpose, which leads us to prosperity. So, how have you been successful in guiding women in their Renaissance years, their renewal and their revitalization years, into living into that type of an experience?
I always start with after we've gone through the reflection phase, right? It's really the vision. And yes, there is a place for life vision statements and purpose statements, but vision is so sensory, right? And it's, how do you feel? What do you see? What do you taste? What does it feel like? And once you have all of that, then you can write that out, right? Because I do think that you should write out your vision, right? But it is honing into those sensory pieces, and then understanding how you move forward with that.
Mhm.
Because you're right. And we spend a lot of time like, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? And our purpose is always more times than not right in front of us, right? It's what you're doing. It's what gets you up at night. I mean, in the morning, right? Doesn't keep you up at night. But it is, what excites you? Who do you want to serve, right? Whether, like for me, it was like, okay, I am passionate about helping midlife women because I know the process I went through, and on the other side, right, I've been able to reach other women, have an impact, and help them see. So it is
And
tied.
that your specific audience didn't just happen for you. From what I've read about you, that evolved over time. And so what you said right there is very important, only because I don't want people to think that you wake up one morning and you decide this is who I want to work with. Yours was an evolution of transitioning to who you serve right now,
Mhm.
right? Can
Absolutely.
so because I really don't want people to like get discouraged because they're not stepping into immediately who they're meant to serve. So can you tell us how you evolved to 40 plus? Because you were servicing a lot of people, right?
Yeah, it does. And that's the other thing that we have to know, that it can be fluid, but at the end of the day, the vision is still pretty much the same. So my vision has always been to help and serve people and help people be the best that they can be. It started out over 20 years ago, over close to 30 years ago, when I had my first company. It was called Poised and Polished, and I taught in the area of etiquette and manners and protocol. And I was helping boys, girls, men, and women, right? But it's always been around personal development. And
Mhm.
so, yes, while the audience may change, at the end of it's always been the same thing, right? And helping people be the best that they can be. It really even started prior to that in terms of coaching and consulting and mentoring. I've been doing that my entire adult life. And it started when I was in Big Brothers Big Sisters when I lived in Memphis, and I got partnered with a little girl. She was 7 at the time, and she is now like 42, 43, and she went on to get her PhD. I'm still keeping contact with her and her family. So it has always been helping and serving and helping people reach their potential. So that hasn't changed. And so that's why I say, your purpose, we spend so long, what's my purpose? You've probably been doing your purpose your entire life,
Right.
right? Because that's just within you. And that's why, I believe, so I'm a believer. That's how God created
Say
you.
that, girl. That's how God created us. Like,
That's
yeah.
how God created you. I mean, He created you for a purpose in mind. And so if you are taking the next best step, then you continue to walk in that. And over time, it looks a little different, but it's still the same. And so now reaching midlife women, in part because that's where I am, right? I just turned 60 in August. And so I'm like, wow, this is my tribe. I understand. And I've experienced a lot of those changes that I speak about and transitions and have come out on the other side, right? Through help, through coaches, through support. And that's how I've got to this place. Right. So you're right. It has evolved over time.
Yeah, because I believe you can't be your best self by yourself.
Absolutely not.
You know what, Dr. Stevens? Now, this part really, there are so many people adverse to acquiring a coach because it's hard to see yourself. I don't think there's anyone, because I have coaches in my life, like literal coaches that I have paid for.
Oh
And,
yeah,
I think it's pretty amazing how so many people are willing to invest in things that have no value into helping them to become their best self. They just look like that their best self, but they haven't given themselves an opportunity to become their best self because you can't be your best self by yourself.
absolutely not. And I have invested um a whole lot
I hear you, girl. Yeah.
in coaches and just shifting the mindset because you don't know your blind spots. And that's why, when you get
Ooh,
a coach, you want
wait a
to make
minute,
sure
Dr. Steven, can you say that again? You don't know your blind
you
spots.
don't know your blind spots, right? And so, you think about you driving a car, you got rear view mirror, a side mirror, and you still miss the blind spot, right? Still
Yes,
somebody come up beside you. And so you need someone to help you with those blind spots and help
yes.
you imagine and think of possibility and opportunity because it's so easy to get stuck in the routine of life, right? Like I said, you get up, you go the same way to work, you do the same thing, you come on. And so you really don't have an opportunity to imagine, like, what if? Imagine if, right?
Mhm.
And there's no cost to dreaming or visioning, right? Dream in
And
color, dream big.
exactly. I wanna like that blind spot thing did a thing for me, girl. So blind spot meaning how you're seeing yourself, but you don't know it.
Yes. And how you show up. Many of us we are not self-aware. We're not self-aware. And by that, I mean, we don't know how we're perceived. We don't know what people think about, our delivery. We say something and it's perceived, and we wonder why we can't make friends or we can't keep friends or why we can't keep a job or why we're never happy in a romantic relationship or partnership. You know,
One of my coaches calls those things that we can't see in our blind spot, he calls them emotional snipers.
I love that.
Where oh my girl, he calls them emotional snipers. And some of those emotional snipers could be that you don't know that you are expressing and is actually preventing you from growing is things like passivity. It's things like imposter syndrome.
Mm, that part,
That part.
that part.
Can we, because I know, girl,
I,
listen.
I, 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 poster child, imposter syndrome, right? And it also goes to some of these inner barriers that we have, right? One of my coaches refers to them like these inner barriers, and they show up of I'm not enough, um, I don't matter, I'm not safe, I'm too much, like all of these things, right? And
And
by
those are the conversations that we are having. Like my last guest, Dr. She's not my pastor Courtney, she talked about having an internal committee. And because I asked her the question, I'll ask you the question, how can we begin to have better conversations with ourselves?
that's a good one. I think the most important thing is to be still.
Stillness is key.
Stillness. Be
That's a
still.
biblical principle, y'all. So don't
Be
play with
be
us right
be
now.
still and know, right? Turn the TV off, turn off social media, close the door, just be still and just see what comes up. What are you thinking about? Right? And start looking at the different areas of your life, right? So I look at the dimensions of wellness. I call them the dimensions of harmony in midlife, right? And just looking at all those things and just think about like, is this where I want to be?
Mhm.
What does this look like? How is this showing up? How am I showing up? What am I doing? Right. So to me, the key for me, that's what it took, was just to be still and to be honest. That's another thing. A lot of us, we're not honest with ourselves. Right.
Mhm.
You can fool everybody else on social media if you
But you
want to.
can't fool yourself.
You can't fool yourself. You can take that picture where you looking all good, and I tell my clients and some of the younger people, what you see on social media is a highlight reel.
Ooh, I like that, girl. Say that.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Say that one more time.
What you see on social media is the highlight reel, right? Think about it. When you take pictures, how many pictures do you take and only one makes it on Facebook, right? Oh
Wait
no,
a minute.
turn
With the
no,
filter.
that's
Don't
not my
forget the
good side.
filter.
Yeah, the filter. I mean, so we all of that, right? But then we're comparing ourselves to what we see on social media, but that's the highlight tape.
Mm.
That's
Yeah,
that's the
girl.
highlight tape. That's the highlight reel. If you ever had a kid to play sports, you had to put together a highlight reel to send to a college, you looking at all of their plays and you taking the best ones and only the little bit of the best ones, right? Where you didn't miss, I mean, you didn't capture where they missed the free throw, but you got the one where they did get, the second free throw, right?
Right.
So it's that part and just not comparing, but you have to be radically honest with yourself, and until you're ready to do that, then you can't have a good conversation
Mm.
and with yourself. I mean, you can lie to yourself and like, well, no, I'm not this, or no, I'm not feeling that. But you got to know, so you can address it. That imposter syndrome.
You can't address what you're not aware of.
Absolutely not. I think Dr. Phil or Oprah, somebody said that, and
Somebody said it, girl, but I know it's
somebody said it,
right. You
and I
need to
hold.
be aware. Awareness is crucial.
Yeah, you can't acknowledge a problem. I mean, you can't fix the problem until you acknowledge there is a problem. And it
Right.
doesn't even have to be a problem. It can just be something that is. But having an awareness of that. Like I know the imposter syndrome, I fight through it, right? Because it was a real thing for me. And I fight through it, but I know when it starts to show its ugly head, right? So I like that emotional sniper, right? When it starts to pick up, oh no, 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 I know what to say and what to do to, put that thing under subjection. And then the other thing is we have to show compassion and grace and kindness to ourselves.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's the
That
self-talk.
that will allow us to transition through these emotions of unworthiness.
Yes. Be careful what you say to yourself. We say things to ourselves that we would never, ever say to somebody else that we love. And if you
Mm.
say you love you, which most of us, we do say, yeah, do you love, yeah, I love me. Yeah. But the way we treat ourselves, our behaviors indicate something different.
You know what, Dr. Stevens, sometimes I think, which is going to lead to the next question. Are y'all enjoying this out here? If y'all enjoying this, put some information in the chat. Put like fire in the chat because I think she dropping some purpose gems right now. What does it, in order to get beyond the imposter syndrome, the passivity, and to get to the other side of it, and let's say for those who do get to the other side of it, we don't have to apologize for that when we show up on the other side. So what does it mean? Because you talk about this in your narrative on your website. Y'all go to her website, Dr. Arlanda Stevens,
Arlanda.
ArlandaStevens.com. Go to her website because she talks about living authentically. And I want you to share with our audience today, like once we get to the other side of our emotional snipers, what does it mean to live unapologetically?
For me, I tell my clients and the women that I serve, it is embracing all of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And being okay. Being okay with where you are physically, right? Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every line, every piece of cellulite, whatever, just embrace that, right? And knowing it's the part of who God designed you to be. God is not he's not caught off guard that your nose is bigger than you think it should be, but love the skin that you're in. um and so that's one part of it, right? It's just embracing who you are and knowing, yeah, I know I'm not good in this area, and that's okay because I know where to find people, right? That's building that community, that support. um but that's what I talk about, being radically honest with yourself, right? And saying, I'm not good in this area, and that's okay, but I'm good in this, I'm not good in that. Um, as opposed to thinking that we can be all things to all people when putting on a superwoman cape. No, just be you. The world needs you. There are what, 6 billion, 8 billion people.
Yes, girl.
There's only one you. And you, the real you is needed in God's master plan, right? People are waiting for you to show up. Like, I can't be Dr. Marnita. Dr. Marnita can't be me. There are people that will be drawn to her and not me, and me and not her, right? And that's okay, right?
Because your
And
sheep
there's,
know your voice.
yes,
That
and
was in
there
my
is
Bible this
enough.
morning when I woke up. So I didn't make that up. So like that's, your sheep knows your voice and nobody else will they listen to.
And you know what? I tell, when I talk to people, I say the chicken places and the car dealerships, they already have it figured out.
Mm.
So in Cleveland, there's an area on the east side, I think it's Northfield or Warrensville Center, one of the two. There's a Kentucky Fried Chicken, there's a Mr. Chicken, and there's a Popeyes. They are like across
Walking
the street from
distance.
each other,
Say that,
right?
girl. Yes.
And so, and they purposely went there, right? So it wasn't like all of a sudden they made a conscious decision. KFC isn't mad about the people that go to Mr. Chicken, and Mr. Chicken ain't mad about the people that go to Popeyes, because
Yes.
some people like, I don't like Popeyes, I never will eat Popeyes, I'm going to Mr. Chicken. Mr.
Yes.
Chicken people, I'm not going to So you're right. The people know your voice. Car dealerships in
Same
Cleveland,
thing.
you got Becker Automotive, you
You have an
got
auto
you got a
boulevard.
whole strip of cars, right?
Is that Bedford? Is that Broadway? What's that?
Bedford, yeah, on Broadway.
Girl, yes.
You know, the Honda people not mad at the Mercedes people, and the Mercedes people not mad at the Volkswagen, because there's enough for everybody. And that's the other piece, right? We start doing shifts in our mindset and moving into an abundance mindset, because I believe, and my Bible tells me, my sacred text, right,
Right.
that God came that we may have life and have it abundantly.
Yeah.
And abundance is our birthright, and all that He created for us. And
Right.
so there is more than enough, right? Dr. Marnita and I, we couldn't serve all the women if we wanted to. It's just too many of us, right? And so there is enough for everyone. So just understanding these mindsets. And another one is moving from a scarcity and lack
Mm,
mentality and moving into a growth
growth
mindset
because
as
you can only
opposed
go
to a
to the
fixed
next
mindset.
level head first. Listen, people, you have to assess your mindset. You don't go to the next level. You grow to the next level. And in
Mhm,
order to grow to the next level, you have to assess where your mindset is, because that's the only way that you will get there.
mhm. Only way. You have to shift your mindset. And that goes into what we talked about earlier is identity. You have to reshift your identity. If your identity was caught up in your 9 to 5 job and then they lay you off, you got to shift,
Yeah.
right?
Because
Shift your
first and
identity.
foremost, you are a child of the kingdom. You're
Number
not,
one.
you weren't created to do that job, but you are a child of the kingdom. You were created to express the gift that he gave you, right?
Yep. And gifts are meant to be shared. And like I said, the world is waiting on you to show up.
Yes.
Right. And that's kind of what pushed me. Like, although I've been counseling and mentoring and all that, I'm like, the world is waiting on me to show up. And I get receipts all the time when I could talk to somebody about something random and it comes up, and then I just automatically go into, serving mode. And they're like, thank you so much. Like, this is what I really needed. And so, again, just walking in what God has called you to do and who God has called you to be, and knowing that you have the power to create the life that you desire.
I love what you do, Dr. Orlando, uh, because you call yourself the midlife midwife. You're helping women birth some things.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about children here.
Oh, no, we're not doing the Sarah thing, right?
We're not talking about kids here. We're talking about she's helping. I'm like, we're like, I want to be in like her stuff, like, right. She's helping women birth some stuff up in
Yeah.
here because she is the midlife midwife.
Yeah. The vision for your future. What do you want your next to look like?
Ooh, what's your
Right?
next, y'all?
Yeah, what's your next? Well, what do you want to look like? And it doesn't have to look like what society says it should look like, right? And
Girl,
that's one
yes.
thing. We are not our grandmothers,
Mm-mm.
right? We're not our grandmothers. I know some of us, we look at our grandmothers who were 60, 65. I didn't grow up with a grandmother, but I've been around other people's grandmas. We don't have the house coat with the safety pins on it, right? That's not us. We are active, we're involved. We're creating businesses, more business. I was reading the other day that more businesses are being created by women 50 and over,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We are coming into our peak 50, 60. A lady, one of my spiritual moms, married for the first time at 85.
That's amazing. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
So, yes, what is it that you want? And you can achieve it. You're going to have to shift some stuff and move some things and make some sacrifices. But is it worth it to you for your vision, right? Of what you want. So I recently became a grandmother last year. And so, like, it's all about my two little granddaughters. They're 4 months apart. And I know part of my vision is I need to create time and freedom in my life so I can spend time with them while I still have my health. So
Yeah.
that's going to require me to make some shifts in some other areas and do some other things. And so, yes, I want women to think about what it is they want for their next, despite the losses, the changes, the transitions, because not all of them, like I said, could take you out, but it doesn't have to be the end of who you are and the end of your life, right? I had a lady on my panel who lost a son to suicide. And since then, she and her husband have created a foundation and going around the country educating people, right? So, no.
This is good. This is so good, Dr. Stevens. I have, and we're almost done, but I do want you to share with our audience. You have an event coming up, February 24th, which is a little bit over a week from now. It's called the Midlife Women Meet. Can you share with our audience and where they can go and get their tickets so they can be in a room? It's nothing more important than positioning yourself in the room. So share
Oh,
with
yeah.
our audience about your event that's coming up.
Absolutely. And let me just say something about being in the room. That is so key, right? You have to be in the room with a coach, therapist, your front row, your board of directors, being in the room, right? So, about the event. So, as I mentioned, I had a conference last October, Midlife Women Empowerment Conference. And so we brought together midlife women. And one of the biggest things was community that came out of that. And I want to provide a space for us midlife women to meet and talk about those issues relative to us. And so this is called Midlife Women Meet, where we come and gather, have a few little refreshments, and talk about some topics that are relevant to us. It's on Saturday, February 24th at the Hen Mansion in Euclid, Ohio, from 9:30 a.m. to 12 noon. We have a guest speaker. If you're in the Cleveland area, you may know Latoya Smith, who has a wonderful story. So she'll be sharing with us. And you can go to my website, drarlandastevens.com, and you will see a tab that says Midlife Women Meet. You can purchase your ticket there. And it's also on Eventbrite. And you just look up Midlife Women Meet. But the easiest one is to go straight to the website. The tickets are $40. It includes, our conference materials and, like I said, refreshments and really a great time, right? Women walk away and it's like, yeah, this is what I needed, and I'm excited about the theme for February, and it is embrace your essence, cultivating self-love in midlife.
I love that. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
You're an amazing woman and coach and entrepreneur. And I am so glad you agreed to have this conversation on Build $1 Million Legacy with Purpose. But I have 3 questions that I would like to standardize this conversation,
Okay.
if
All
you don't
right.
mind. So here's the questions, girl.
Okay.
What is your favorite quote? What is your favorite quote which inspires you when you feel that you're not living at your highest self?
I I uh, I don't know if it's not a quote, it's a scripture, and it's one of my favorites, and it's very simple. It's I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
I love that. I love that, girl. Yes. Okay. Second, what is one book that has made a difference as you are living out your purpose?
Hmm. There's so many. Um, I have to think about that one. I guess one of the things that has really, and I don't mean to sound cliche, but I have been doing a deeper dive in the Bible in Psalms and Proverbs.
Girl, that's
Those are two of the
a book.
wisdom books of the Bible. And
Yes.
so in this season, I'm seeking wisdom. And so I have been really involving myself in those two books of the Bible right
So the
now.
way I understand wisdom, y'all, and you can just tell me if this is not the way you see it, Dr. Stevens, wisdom is the application of knowledge.
Knowledge. Hmm.
No, wisdom is the application of understanding. Ooh, understanding the knowledge that you have. Wisdom is the application of understanding.
And all of your getting, get understanding.
Yes,
Mhm.
it'll cost you all you have, but
Everything.
get understanding. So that's so good. Thank you for
Hmm.
sharing.
Hmm.
Ooh, you ready for the third question?
I guess. Bring it on, bring it on. I'm ready.
Girl, here it come. What tool do you use to continue to elevate and grow in what you have been purposed to do?
What tool?
Hmm.
Hmm. Um, say more. What kind of tool are you
You
specific
can pick any
into?
tool you want, girl. It's your story.
What the tool that is helping me is doing everything in love.
Mm, I love that.
Uh, the Bible says love covers a multitude of sins. We're told to love our neighbor as ourselves. We're told to love our enemies and those who, um, try to take advantage of us. And so for me, it's love, right? In this season, I I want to be, um, I want to reflect God's love. And the way that I can do that is to show love to others, right? And where they are, loving myself too, right? Because I'm big on protecting my peace.
Hmm.
um, but just really the tool of love, right? And
I love
being
that.
compassion, being
Mm,
compassion. I think it was Oprah may have said, when you see somebody, you don't say what's wrong with them, you say what happened to them. Because
That
all of
that's a
us
book
have,
that she has. Like, what happened to you? Yeah.
yeah, that
Great
they're,
book.
all of us have had some stuff happen that has shaped the way we think, feel, believe. And so being
Okay.
compassion and love,
Compassion.
self-compassion
Okay.
is a big
Because if
one.
you can't have compassion for yourself, you can't have compassion for others. Love others as you love yourself. And most people don't realize is that as you love yourself is the most important because you can't give what you don't have.
You can't pour from an empty cup. And as a matter
That-
of fact, you only can pour from your overflow.
That's right. Say that again, girl. Now, overflow,
You pour from your
abundance. Right,
overflow,
right,
right? If your
right,
cup
right.
is just full enough for you, you don't really
Yeah,
have a
not
whole lot
enough.
to share, right?
Yes, 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 yes. Well,
Full
this
to
has been
that.
an amazing conversation. Thank you so much. And
Oh,
if this
no,
has helped
thank you for having me.
anyone, girl, yes. If this has helped anyone, please share this on your feed so someone else can get impact out of this conversation. Like, subscribe, and follow Dr. Stevens on her Facebook and any other social media platforms that she has. Don't forget about her event coming up February 24th, Meet Midlife Woman Meet. Midlife Women Meet. And I'm hoping that she sees you in the room. If I was in if I was in Ohio, then I would be there in the room. And you talking about pennies for that you're going to invest for the impact, the amazing, tremendous impact you're going to receive from this event. And so this is Dr. Marnita on fire with P3 Purposepreneur TV, having conversations about build $1 million legacies with purpose. And we will talk to you and see you. No, we will talk to you. You will hear us on the next video. Until next time, Dr. Orlando, did you want to leave our audience with a word?
I just want to leave everyone just to know that you have the power to create the life that you desire, right? It's all in you. And I really want you to experience greater in your later, right? The best is yet to come.
Now that's a purpose gem for sure. See y'all next video.
Take care.